Hello, everybody. It is wonderful to see how companies are changing the business world. My name is Karla Alcala, and today I'm gonna tell you about the relationship that exists between transformational leaders and revolutionary companies. It is likely that you have heard the phrase change is inevitable. And talking about the business environment, one could say that transformation is not unavoidable but necessary. Companies need to adapt, innovate, adjust, modify, advance, and develop their processes to keep growing and remain in the market. Most of the time, companies seek higher revenues, cost reductions, efficiency, higher quality, and productivity, and the only way to achieve the desired results is by promoting change. The business environment is continuously evolving, and worldwide competition increases the need for a company to stay ahead and to fit its structure to new technology, laws, regulations, and policies. Organizations not only need to become comfortable with change, but to initiate it. Why companies need to change? Many people feel cautious about change, but companies face a fast changing environment with increasing and fluctuating demands, and they cannot afford to remain quiet in a world where innovations lead. Change is necessary to explore our advantages to become market leaders. All of us must agree that change is necessary to improve. To keep growing, organizations need to overhaul the way they do things and they must modify their structure to adapt to new environments. According to Katz and Ken, the entropy process is considered a universal law that is often seen as a measurement of disorder. In other words, organizations naturally move toward disorganization. However, companies cannot afford to die, and they assess their environments to find ways for solving their problems, which is known as negative entropy. Organizations need to be aware of the different variables of their environments that can affect their performance, such as competitors, different economic cycles, and their customers' needs, to make better and informed decisions to pursue better results. Companies are systems that receive inputs and deliver outputs, and they need to be aware of the different characteristics of their environments that can affect their performance. One part of the system, directly or indirectly, influences the other parts, and the way they assess their environments determines their success. In other words, the way they react to entropy and infer negative entropy is critical to accomplish their goals. In history, we have seen how powerful organizations such as Nokia and Xerox, among others, have been affected by disruptive technologies. And those companies are a clear example of why organizations need to promote a culture that embraces and continually encourages change. In conclusion, the ability to manage, adapt, and support organizational change is essential ability required in the workplace today. All of us must agree that change is necessary to improve. To keep growing, organizations need to overhaul the way they do things and they must modify their structure to adapt to new environments. Organizations face average changes such as developing new systems of information, improve their products or services, or change their rewards and incentives programs, among many others. Some of the changes may be necessary to suit the demand of their atmosphere, but other kinds of changes are essential to boost their ecosystems and promote drastic reviews to keep ahead of competitors. Therefore, organizational change should be reviewed in two categories: evolutionary and revolutionary organizational change. Now, let's talk a little bit about evolutionary change. Not only companies but people need to evolve to remain competitive. Evolution is an intrinsic path of improvement. There is always a better way to do things, and that is what keeps us continually achieving progress. Evolutionary change happens slowly, little by little, and it is the result of the company's survival needs. This kind of change is generally promoted by outside pressure, and it can be spurred by competition. Within the corporate environment, evolution is seen as an incremental change because it is the result of a regular and continuous attempt to accomplish higher results. When we think about it, this kind of change can quickly be promoted by enhancing our communication channels and by stimulating candid and honest discussion of what is needed to be done to get better results. For example, technology. Technology is continuously changing, and organizations need to embrace it because it is an external force that will help them to increase the efficiency of their process. On the other hand, a revolutionary change is drastic, and it can be seen as a transformational process that profoundly changes the way things are done. In other words, it is a complete reconstruction and renovation of the company's goals. These kind of changes fundamentally affect the beliefs and behavior of leaders within the corporation. Fundamental organizational change is rare because attempting to change the culture is always, of the organization is always very difficult, and it is hard to make a case, mainly when the organization appears to be doing well. However, companies that could predict how disruptive change can keep them ahead of the market are just thriving. Change is inevitable. However, as we can observe, companies that engage in revolutionary change become the winners of the market, in contrast with companies that merely focus on survival, making just little changes to evolve. Let's talk a little bit about those disruptive companies. According to Foster and Kaplan, markets now change too quickly for traditional management structures to keep up. Companies need to hire the right kind of leaders. Just in the last decade, industries such as travel, entertainment, newspaper, and language, retail, finance, transportation, manufacturing, and farm, among others, have dramatically restructured the way we perceive and live them. For example, Netflix and its rival Hulu are changing the way people watch TV. Spotify and iTunes have managed to do the same for the recording industry. Airbnb and HomeAway are improving the hotel and motel industry. And Uber, Lyft, and other car-sharing apps are changing the way we move from place to place. All of us have seen how great companies and even great industries have been radically transformed by disruptive changes that revolutionize everything from the way people think to the way they behave, and how those companies become dominant competitors of their markets or even create new ones. One of the most remarkable companies in terms of change and transformation has been Amazon. Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos on July 5, 1994. The tech giant is the largest internet retailer in the world as measured by revenue and market capitalization, and the second largest after Alibaba Group in terms of total sales. The Amazon.com website started as an online bookstore and later diversified to sell video, MP3s, audiobooks, software, video games, electronics, apparel, furniture, food, toys, and jewelry. The company also owns a publishing arm, which is called Amazon Publishing, a film television studio, which is called Amazon Studios, and produces consumer electronic lines including the Kindle, e-readers, Fire tables, Fire TV, and Eco devices. And it is the world's largest provider of cloud infrastructure services. Amazon also sells certain low-end products under its in-house brand Amazon Basics. Amazon has separate retail websites for the United States, the United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Canada, Germany, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Australia, Brazil, Japan, China, India, Mexico, Singapore, and Turkey. In 2016, Dutch, Polish, and Turkish language versions of the German Amazon website were also launched. Amazon also offers international shipping for some of its products to certain countries. In 2015, Amazon surpassed Walmart as the most valuable retailer in the United States by market capitalization. Amazon is the third most valuable public company in the United States behind Apple and Microsoft, the largest internet company by revenue in the world, and after Walmart, the second largest employer in the United States. In 2017, Amazon acquired Whole Foods Market for 13.4 billion, which vastly increased Amazon's presence as a brick-and-mortar retailer. The acquisition was interpreted by some as direct attempt to challenge Walmart traditional retail stores. In 2018, for the first time, Jeff Bezos released in Amazon shareholders letter the number of Amazon Prime subscribers, which is 100 billion worldwide. In 2018, Amazon.com contributed to 1 US million to the Wikipedia endowment. But what is the relationship that exists between Amazon's success and innovation? Over its nearly 22 years, Amazon has moved into one sector after another and gentrified, even if that meant tearing down its own existing structures. The latest version of Amazon streaming music service, Amazon Music Unlimited, was constructed on top of its initial music store, Amazon MP3, which opened 9 years ago. Amazon Studios, Emmy award winning, original TV shows are built upon a crowdsourced platform that the company first introduced in 2010 for aspiring scriptwriters. Even the company's fashion business. Amazon is now the second largest seller of apparel in the United States according to Morgan Stanley. The company evolved from brand experiments in outdoor furniture in 2004, home goods 2008, electronics accessories 2009, diapers 2014, and now perishables such as organic fair trade certified coffees. One amazing phrase of Jeff Bezos is, "Our customers are loyal to us right up until the second somebody offers them a better service." And I love it. It's super motivating to us. That gives us an idea of how this company really loves change. Let's explore how change positively affects company success. Trying to understand how and why organizational change affects companies' chances of success, Van de Ven, Paul's 1995, clustered his research in four elemental schools of thought that can be useful to gain a practical perspective about change within the corporate environment and how organizations benefit from embracing continuity in terms of change. And one of his most significant theories was the life and cycle theory. According to the life and cycle theory, companies go through different stages or phases, and the knowledge acquired in each of those phases is cumulative, which takes companies to a continuous improvement process. Some other researchers, such as Greiner, 1972, made a similar approach referring to those stages as life and cycle terms. In other words, he explained that companies evolve from phase to phase. According to him, companies go first through the startup phase, which is characterized by creativity and new ideas. Then the direction stage, in which companies need to work towards their goals and missions. And the final period is called delegation stage. In this stage, companies' growth is more substantial, and they are well synchronized to achieve success. So far, we have stated how important it change to drive companies to success. Let's explore what are the common characteristics of successful change implementations. Dealing with people is possibly one of the most relevant challenges for executives promoting change. Leaders need other supports, and sometimes people will understand the urge for changing the way we are doing things and their goals will be compatible with us, but sometimes not. People need to be engaged in improving and implementing new ideas, and more importantly, to sustain them. According to O'Toole 1995, and based on his study, prosperous change implementation share 8 commonalities. The first one, and one of the most essential, is that successful change implementations have a strong support from top managers. Change management requires a strong commitment for senior managers because it helps employees to understand that this new way of doing things is backed by a well thought out decision making process where leaders know where they are going. One of the most critical tools to improve our employees' performance is to establish a vision. The second commonality is that change has to be built on the unique strengths and values of the organization. Understanding the company's values will help employees to find a sense of community and positively participate in reaching collective goals. The third commonality is that the specific changes are not imposed from the top. Successful change implementations depend on the whole organization commitment. The fourth commonality was that change is holistic, which means that every part of the organization must be correlated and in the same channel to modify whatever is necessary to achieve the company's goals. The fifth commonality was that change was planned ahead. Every step was prepared and people were ready to implement new processes. The sixth commonality is that changes are made in the gut of the organization. In other words, Changes in authority, power relationships, rewards, and information systems were created to support the overall change effort. The seventh commonality is that change is approached from a stakeholder point of view. In other words, it was made considering the external environment. And finally, the last commonality is that change becomes an ongoing process. It created the need for a continual improvement process. So far we have learned how important is change to propel organizations' success. But it will be very interesting to explore which are the barriers to change and why some organizations don't change. Change is dynamic and a social process, which means that it has many moving parts and it has intended outcomes and unintended outcomes. Even the smaller changes will result in unexpected consequences, and those interconnections are not always understood when evolution and revolution happens. However, we need to change to keep ahead of the market. It is not just about making changes because change is essential. It is about knowing what we need to change and involve the right people in making it happen. We cannot let uncertainty to become a challenge because organizations need to take risks to keep growing. When organizations want to achieve a successful transformational effort, they realize that they have to overcome many obstacles. When we are trying to promote or to initiate change, we discover that some people may not accept it. For some persons, different is exciting, and they are proactive and show commitment and enthusiasm. Some others will completely resist, and others will wait and see if the change is going to be well received by the rest of the organization. According to Garcia's 1991, systems find three barriers to change. The first barrier is cognition. We base our judgments on past experiences, and this is a barrier to change. We usually make our decisions focusing on how they have worked in the past. And this shapes the way we interpret and understand things. And it is tough to change it. If we think about it, when people present us new ideas or concepts that defy what we think, our first reaction is to reject them. And we try to find facts and information that reinforces what we believe. However, it is essential to open our minds to find better ways to do things. Cognition is about the way we see reality, and even if our perception of facts is not always the best one, we tend to think that our beliefs are correct. But the challenge should be trying to understand why it is necessary to assess new ways of doing things and how we can use our past experiences to plan and avoid mistakes. The second barrier is motivation. As we mentioned before, some people will be enthusiastic about finding new ways of doing things. They will accept to change and they are going to be proactive and willing to come on board, but others will not. Some people are better dealing with uncertainty and others are not, which can be one of the most significant barriers for change because uncertainty can push us to reduce risk and to avoid change. Some people will adopt a wait and see approach, but we cannot let uncertainty rule our decisions because organizations need to change to keep growing, and we need to motivate our employees to accept and cope with change. The last barrier is obligation. We need to take into account people's opinions to start change because they are going to be more committed if they feel part of the decision making process. If we do not listen to people's opinions and we do not involve them, they are going to feel that their voice has not been heard. And when that happens, people disengage and they will resist to accept new perspectives. Organizational change will occur when people are engaged and people are critical and committed to the implementation of new approaches. Let's explore some models to successfully implement changes. Initiating change within organizations is extremely difficult and complicated. We do not like uncertainty, and change initiatives are often received with resistance. However, to compete, people need to be flexible. According to Coder 1996, an average of 70% of all significant change efforts in organizations fail. When we think about it, change fails for many reasons, such as the lack of a plan, or because we ignore the culture and did not invest enough resources, or because they don't follow up the process of change and they do not receive enough feedback or because they have weak communication channels. Considering all these reasons, John Cotter proposed a useful model to guide companies to implement their improvement efforts. The first step of the process is to establish a sense of urgency. In this stage, organizational leaders need to identify why change is necessary to improve or to remain ahead of the competition. It might be useful to spot threats and to examine opportunities. Communication is essential, and the leaders promoting change can start honest discussions and develop different scenarios to convince people to consider new alternatives. Our goal is to convince people that transitions are necessary to grow. The second step is to form a powerful coalition. Promoting change is not enough. We need to lead it. In this stage, we need to build a team of leaders and influencers that can propel and secure the success of new projects and ideas. It will be necessary to reinforce a team working environment led by people truly committed. The next stage is called developing a vision and a strategy. If we think about it, one of the critical elements of success is to establish our goals, where we want to be and what we want to accomplish. This step consists in creating a vision for change. We need to gather all of our ideas and solutions and being able to establish clear objectives. We can determine all of the values that are central to change and create a strategy that allows us to see what we want to achieve. Once we have established clear objectives, we need to convey them. Communicating the vision to change is the first step to follow. Communicating our ideas is not just about telling people what to do. It implies to create successful back and forth communication channels where we want to expose our vision and where we can learn and understand others' points of view. The fifth step is to empower employees for broad-based action. This step is one of the most critical phases of the model because during this stage we need to be able to remove obstacles. To secure the success of our change efforts, we need to give enough support, which implies useful feedback and help. It will be necessary to recognize and reward people for their contributions, to identify those who are resistant to change and support them to share the team's perspective. The next step is to generate short-term wins. Establishing short-term goals will help us to track our progress and we will keep our team members motivated to pursue further accomplishments. The next step is consolidating gains and producing more change. As we stated before, organizations face an enormous pressure to improve their products, processes, and costs continually. Change must be part of a continuous improvement cycle, and we cannot declare victory at any time. The final step is anchoring new approaches in the culture. Change must be part of the driving motor of the organization. Change must be part of the culture, and our employees need to develop the capability to adapt to promote new and higher goals all the time. So far, we have learned that change is very important for organizations to reach success. But what about the leaders that are behind all those companies that have revolutionized the world? All of us share a passion for exceptional people. We like them, we love their work, we love their contribution, and most importantly, we establish a natural connection with them. We have characters who transform, revolutionize, and who make a difference. They become our role models. They inspire us. We trust them. But what makes those people and characters so unique? When thinking about the relationship between transformational leaders and revolutionary companies, we need to study charisma. Charisma is the symbolic influence that we have on people, and it is rooted in values and emotions. It represents our ability to connect with others and sway them. According to Bass 1998, charismatic leaders are admired, respected, and trusted. People identify with them because they are willing to take risks and are consistent with their high standards of moral value. In other words, they successfully transmit their missions and persuade others to come on board. Three factors distinguish those kind of leaders, according to Borg 2017. The first one is charismatic leaders can motivate and inspire. We like to know why we are doing things. We feel encouraged by challenge and meaning. All of us want to leave a positive footprint behind us, and we like to be and feel part of great teams. Managers who communicate clear expectations, show high commitment and reach goals, and cultivate a team spirit and are more likely to boost their employees' performance. Because who doesn't feel encouraged to reach high expectations? For example, Steve Jobs had a passion for doing the right thing and for making it insanely perfect, and he drove people to do things they thought were impossible. Charismatic leaders create intellectual stimulation. Some of the most successful companies, such as Google, Facebook, and Pixar, urge their employees to think outside the box. And people who work in those kinds of environments are committed to innovate and create not because they are forced to, but because they feel part of something big. We like people that encourage us to develop new things and that inspire us to be better persons. Humanity is even more idealistic than we believe. Therefore, we enjoy following people with a significant commitment to making this a better world. As well, charismatic leaders show extreme consideration for individuals. One of the most important goals of any marketer is to develop products and services that create an emotional connection with buyers. It's not the slogan of Nike, just do it. We can become champions, and this company encourages us to grasp our goals no matter the obstacles. Thinking about individuals' emotions yield to lucrative results. Charismatic people care and pay close attention to others' needs, and they recognize that every follower is different, unique, and that she or he plays an special role within the team. In conclusion, it is clear that our norms and values influence the way that our workers behave and their motivators. Every action we take and decision we make within our organization will affect our direction and the way our employees react. Organization development helps companies to understand what they are doing and what they need to do to increase their desired results. Organizational development arises from the need to promote organizational changes focused on creating successful corporate environments that embrace challenges and ongoing improvement. In other words, the primary goal of organization development is to align organizations with their rapidly changing and complex environments through organizational learning, knowledge about management theories, and transformation of organizational norms and values. It is an attempt to improve companies' effectiveness, according to French and Bell in 1995. Organizational development is an effort to help organizations to identify areas of opportunity and not promote change to increase the company's potential, according to Out of Baidu, Coffee 2016 and Bird 2017.